Today, Gaming America is speaking with Andrew Kenward, the president and COO of Almost Friday Media. We're to hear about what they offer and how a forward-looking media company can work with the gaming industry. Thank you for speaking with us today, Andrew.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. So before we get into it a little bit, I was hoping you could talk some about your background. What was your path to your current position at Almost Friday Media?
Yeah, so I really started working in the entertainment business when I was in college. I went to the University of Texas, started working in music, doing some concert promoting, kind of like caught the bug that way. Ended up falling into this big concert promotion business out of Austin called C3 Presents. They produce like all the Lollapaloozas, Austin City Limits. They do concert booking, globally and around the US. And from that moment, I was kind of like, oh, like I wanna make this my career. So I kind of charted a path to find my way to one of the major agencies. I wanted to go work at like a CAA or WME, and this was kind of like as the recession was just like ravaging America too. So I kind of made the decision, like, you know what, feels like a good time to go invest in myself, my education. I'll go to law school. I went to the University of Florida kind of immediately after college. And that's actually where I first got my taste of like startup life. I worked at a company called Groove Shark, which if you remember them at all, they're like an early Spotify competitor. Like they were, it was awesome. It was founded by two Gainesville students. They were a young company. Everyone was like 25. They had 30 million users at their peak. It was like this like cool hip music company in Gainesville. And after that, I was able to get an internship at WME one summer. So I was like still in law school, and eventually went back full time like right after I graduated. And I mean, I took the bar exam in Florida, just like I guess to say that I did, and then moved to Los Angeles like 2 weeks later. And that was the start. That was the start of it. I spent 8 years at William Morris Endeavor, for sort of like bouncing around, working in different departments, everywhere from music to television to it's like sort of like the chief of staff position for our co-CEO for about 1.5 years, and then landed as an agent in our digital media group. It was like growing incredibly fast. I had this nice little bird's eye view working for Patrick Weitzel was the co-CEO at the time. Now he's the executive chairman, but I was like, all right, this group looks like you could be super entrepreneurial. There's not a lot of like, seniority or people above you. So you could kind of, go do what you want. You had like your department head and see if you can go figure it out. And on a macro level, it's just like digital media is becoming more and more the thing. And it was sort of that decision is sort of what put me on the rails to get to where I am now and working at Almost Friday Media.
Sure. And about Almost Friday Media, I was wondering if you could just sort of explain for our viewership what you do, what your ethos is, what distinguishes you from the other startup media companies.
Yeah, for sure. So, I can tell a little story in how I even met these guys. It was about end of November 2019, so like coming up on 3 years ago. I think another friend of mine had sent me a DM with the Friday beers, like one of their first videos, and was like, oh, check this out, like this is hilarious. He knew I was an agent in digital media. It was like something just like clock and put on my radar. I think they had 5,000 followers at the time, right? So I checked it out. I was like, this is funny. I kind of went home for the holidays, forgot about it for a couple months, and then I got a phone call from a colleague in early January. We're just getting back to the office, like, hey, these guys are looking to talk to some agents and digital media representation. They have this Instagram account called Friday Beers. Would you be interested? I think if anybody would know what this is, it'd be you. I kind of represented other like dude comedians, these guys like Chad Goes Deep, if you've heard of them. They actually have a show on Netflix coming out next week that we like helped put together. So it was like very much like in my world. And I met him, and then I looked up the account again because it'd been a couple months. I hadn't seen it, and they had like 250,000 followers. Like it went from like 0 to 100
Right.
like very very fast. Um, and we got to talking. We really like had this conversation about like philosophically, like what do they want to do with this? Like do they want to just use this as a way to like store some jokes and like be funny online while they pursue like careers as like writers and screenwriters, or like do they see this becoming like a media company? And
Mhm.
they charted this, like they put a deck together actually that was like really well thought out, that sort of laid the foundation for what we've been pursuing ever since, really. So now Almost Friday Media is a network of digital media brands and accounts. We have, like 15 plus brands across like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. We have merchandise that we sell for Friday Beers and Almost Friday and a lot of our other accounts that we operate. Um, and we work with brands. We started really working with a lot of like beer companies. It was like such a natural fit for what our largest
Mhm.
brand was in our ecosystem.
Yeah.
The handle at Friday.beers. But now, we're working with all sorts of blue chip brands, from like Grubhubs of the world to Dave and Buster's to
Mhm.
uh, you know Alto, like a rideshare company, is a new partner of ours that we're really excited about. And yeah, we love to create kind of like in a sea of internet content that tries to like stir controversy, or get people fired up in the comment section about whatever like hot take is out there in the moment. Like we are trying to be like a nicer sandbox to play in. Like we want to talk about like our relatable and common experiences, and kind of the entire brand ethos is like, what is that Friday beers moment for you out there? Like that that little light at the end of the tunnel, like at the end of the week, where like you get to shed the responsibility of your job, or the things that like cause you stress, and just sort of get to, hang out and be with your friends or the people you care most about. And that's the stuff that we like joke about and kind of treat in an esteem that feels like a movie.
Mhm.
And that's why like a lot of the content is like pulling these clips from like famous, movies or sports moments, or like big memorable TV show moments, and then layering in like kind of like the mundane life stuff with like those text tracking jokes over that become like so relatable for all of us. And
Yeah.
I think it makes us feel like we're all like in the movie of our own lives, I guess, is the
Mhm.
vibe it gives.
Yeah, sure. That's interesting, but it does make sense considering the times and the generation in which we live. I was
Yep.
wondering though, moving on into the world of betting, I know you have a big deal with BetMGM that was just announced, or Almost Friday Media has a big deal with BetMGM that was
Yep.
just announced. I was wondering, before we get into that, was the BetMGM deal your first foray into betting or gaming, or had you worked in that field before?
Yeah, no, it really was this is our first like major foray into the space. Like we've done some smaller deals. I'll give our guy Ricky at Juice Reel a shout out because he's done some stuff with us early on. But this is our first like, big sort of concerted effort and campaign in the betting space. And what's interesting is one of those networks one of the accounts like in our networks is actually a sports betting like character. It's called Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Locks. So
Mm-hmm.
for your audience, that's a definite follow. Go check out at drlocks.md. And it's really funny. It's a lifestyle account about sports betting and the gaming space. So, we're definitely not going to try and be like the Action Network, or we're not sharps, right? Like we're not
Mm-hmm.
going to be like trying to like give picks that you should like care about because like we think they're going to win. We are more of a like lifestyle brand that wants to like either like ride together just for the joy of it, and for the excitement of it all. And we're able to like commiserate together online. But
Mm-hmm.
when we lose, also like
Yeah.
that's probably the biggest part of it actually. But um we're really excited because like the Friday Beers fan is a sports fan. Like we over index in, like sports fans on our pages by like 100x compared to the average Instagram page, right?
Yeah.
um but what I think the timing is just so great, right? Is like we're experiencing this moment in America where sports gambling is coming online in all these states, and even for like a guy who, like, I love sports, and if I go to Vegas for the weekend, I love to put a little action on some games or whatever while I'm there. And it's like, the problem is, it's like, it's definitely like intimidating, like that first
Mhm.
moment you walk up to the sports book. I'm like, it feels like you're there's doing like a calculus problem, or like it's like there's a lot going on. So I I think like where we can be really helpful as a company is like simplifying, translating a little bit of like this language that's becoming new to people, like it now on
Mhm.
their cell phone, and we're on their cell phone. It's like a very easy, just, hey, we want to, like, one really cool thing that we're doing at BetMGM is like we're gonna have programmed simple like parlay picks in app that we could send
Right.
people to, and just say like, hey, if you want to ride with like the crew of Friday beers or almost Friday this weekend, like we could send you to the one click, landing page that doesn't make you have to like assemble a ticket on your own when you may be like,
Yeah.
I don't even know how to do that, right? Um,
Narrows the field a bit. Yeah.
yeah, and I think like like anything, it's just more fun when there's community around it. I'd say like
Mm.
relative to like your average, in talking about how we were different than like other sort of internet publishers and meme pages, like I think there's a real community in the Friday Beers audience, and they're pretty um just like engaged with the brand in a way where they're buying our merchandise, and they feel like they're part of this like group where if like you were to wear a Friday Beers t-shirt and walk down the street and see somebody else, like you might get like a Friday Beers or like a like a wink or
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. And we want to bring like that feeling to the sports betting space, like to our audience. And
Mhm.
we're going to be throwing a lot of events. We're going to be doing a lot of like cool like merchandise giveaways, and this will all be supported by digital content online. But this isn't just like a purely like, you know how do we pump out in front of as many eyeballs as possible and like get some sort of like, small level of transaction based off of just like pure aggressive like content out on the internet.
Mhm.
This is like more about building community, like creating a conversation, and using all the tools we have in our, kind of tool shed to do that for BetMGM.
Sure. Sure. Well, I wanted to move on to the BetMGM thing. How did that relationship sort of start? What's the backstory, and how has it been working with such a monster company like
Yeah, I mean,
that?
quite candidly, like when we were first exploring doing something in with a sports betting partner or gaming partner, this was almost like a year ago. And I mean, it was kind of like fall of 2021 is when we started just like having like some early conversations. We were talking to all the the players, and it was exciting. There was actually, I think, a lot of interest from these guys to work with us. And it's funny, there was always seemed to be like a guy on their team who like really knew who we were and was like
Right.
acting as like the translator to like the rest of the the executive team or whoever we were talking to. But uh we had a relationship through two of our investors that's connected us, actually through Entane, who's BetMGM's
Hmm.
partner in
Yeah.
the app. And it was like a really quick introduction, like, hey, you guys should meet, right? As most things start. And we I'll say one thing we're really good at is like we put together pretty comprehensive pitch decks that kind of show the breadth of our reach and the kind of like fandom I was explaining within our community. And um, it was sort of like a really exciting match. I think when we met at MGM, like there's a few things I think we're particularly excited about. One is like they're just best in class, like from a user experience. They're the app is amazing. I know a big way that like we're going to be judged and how the success of this like partnership works is like getting people to sign up and use the app. And like a big thing for us was like not wanting to send somebody to a product that like was like clunky, or
Yeah.
there's or difficult to get money out of or put money in or any of that stuff. So that was sort of key. And then I think the other really exciting part about the BetMGM relationship is like they are a global, casino brand with like an actual footprint in every state that
Yeah.
has like like a retail gambling experience, right? And like so much of that aligns with Almost Friday Media in the sense that like we are not just an internet company. Like we did a whole spring college tour with a DJ act that we have under our umbrella. You can check out DJ Press Play at
Mhm.
DJ Press Play on Instagram. But we did like a 13 stop tour in the spring. We have a residency actually at the Borgata for that act, which is MGM property. So there was just a ton of overlap. And as much as like the economics, like, were a driving factor, like there were some other opportunities I think that would have been like a guaranteed like bigger payday, but we just thought the alchemy of the mix, the you know, the cachet of the brand itself is just like incredible. We love working with them, and their team is amazing. They've been super, they're a huge company, but I think we've been able to be incredibly nimble so far, and we're going to be kicking off content in like the next like 10 days. So I'm excited to
Yeah.
just like really see it start to come to life on the publicly.
Yeah, and I was wondering if you could speak a bit more about that content or about sort of the nuts and bolts of your relationship. I know you mentioned that you sort of aggregate tips for your followers and lead them to BetMGM. Could you speak more about what you're actually going to be providing vis-a-vis BetMGM?
Yeah. So, it's almost like a little bit harder to explain the exact type of content that we create. But if you check out on Friday Beers, there's certain like formats throughout the week that that our audience has like become to really know. And obviously like on the handle at Friday.beers, like it's a pretty big celebration every time we like get around to like Thursday or Friday. Like we're starting to
Sure.
really celebrate the weekend. And what's nice is that lines up so perfectly with like the big sports cycle, especially during football season, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is, and I'm not going to say this is going to happen every week because I'm sure we're going to have to like really get in a rhythm, but the goal is like be able to have special curated bets that we come up with from the Friday Beers point of view that I think touch more on like cultural relevancy than like
Hmm.
trying to be like a boosted, like sharp pick, right? So like for instance, like Kenny Pickett is like a friend of ours, and we're always like engaging with him online, right? And now that he's going to the Steelers, like
Hmm.
we want to like support him, So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm sure you'll see a lot of like Kenny Pickett like same game like parlay action coming from us, right? So we're
Mhm.
gonna create content that sort of is in support of that kind of joke, but it also now has like a real tangible experiential moment where you could go, hey, like I can go throw $10 on that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a consistent like cadence of content throughout the week that mainly is on the at Friday.Beers handle and then the at Dr. Locks handle. And we're super stoked about it. It's really I think for the fall going to mirror the football season cadence. But this is a partnership that's going to extend beyond football season. So we're excited to see how it plays around hockey and basketball and all the like what's going on in golf right now is like so interesting too. So there's like a lot of like cultural like touch points that we could grab onto to sort of get people like fired up about these moments in sports and
Yeah.
ride alongside us and with BetMGM.
Well, Lord knows betting season is about to commence.
Yeah, we
Uh,
can't wait.
yeah. I also wanted to ask, well, do you see sports betting as having a bigger space in Almost Friday Media? Slash, do you have an exclusivity sort of agreement with BetMGM?
Yeah, so they're our exclusive partner on
Mhm.
these like two Bain accounts. I mean, we definitely see what I think that the timing is like so perfect. Like not only do I see it as a bigger part of like what Almost Friday Media is doing, like I see it as a bigger part of like just the like the sports economy in the United States. Like, you know, as
Mhm.
and we're sort of riding that wave together and at the same time. So like we we absolutely you know want to continue to like deepen and broaden our relationship. I mean, we have other accounts I think that we're you know still in like earlier days of growing, like some particular like niche like sports accounts that we're gonna like definitely lend to this deal. But I think as those grow and like the opportunity in sports gambling grows like in the US, like there's going to be bigger opportunity for us to be doing more and more with our partner.
Mhm.
Like Empty Netters, for example, is a hockey account that we operate.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, it's got a small but mighty following right now. You know, it's probably like around like 25,000 followers, right, on Instagram, but really engaged audience, super niche audience, and that's the way that we're thinking about communicating with the sports fan is, you know, it's really hard to go be like another like Bleacher Report, right? Just like super general, like, you know,
Yeah.
talk about everything in sports under the sun. It's just they've got a great they've cornered the market on those things. It's like it's hard to challenge that kind of incumbent. But I think where get we have a competitive advantage is getting very granular on these communities and talking to them as if like it was just like one of their friends who really understood that community. I mean, we're you know we're thinking about how do we build out you know content like specifically even for lacrosse, right? As like the
Mhm.
premier lacrosse league is growing in the US, like we over index in lacrosse fans on like the Friday beers and other accounts that we operate. So we know that like that's a market we could speak to. Um, we're just trying to be like you know cautious but diligent in finding like good partners who can create for those niche communities. And I think in turn like that's all going to fuel how we better serve and grow our relationship with you know our partner in BetMGM.
Sure, sure. My last question is sort of going a bit further away from sports betting, more towards Almost Friday Media, but I would like to know, I mean, it seems you're on this big growth path of getting all these, different accounts together, or platforms, or whatever you want to call them. I was wondering, where do you see Almost Friday Media 18, 24 months from now?
Yeah, I think like it's doing exactly that. You know, what's interesting is, you know, there's a lot of really, really funny, creative people out there that are operating these accounts sort of like completely on their own, right? With no real infrastructure. And what we have decided to invest in was, you know, building out that team, like having a real like merchandise operation that if there's a creator and a brand out there that we think really fits our brand's tone of voice and ethos, but maybe talks to a different niche community, how
Hmm.
do we bring them in, offer them, you know, support to run the account, you know, and then ways to really go monetize the account. Like we want to be an economic backbone for these people that like a lot of them like have full-time day jobs, you know, and like
Yeah.
these things are a hobby for them, but it's something they're very passionate about and they put a lot of time and energy into. And now we're becoming a solution where, hey, like, you know, you could make some money off of this. And you know, I think there's some really interesting opportunities in you know, bigger like ownership or licensing type opportunities with our brands as well.
Hmm.
You know, it's early days, but like you know, you would think with a brand name like Friday Beers, like we would be trying to figure out a way to make a product in like the alcohol beverage space, you know. So
Yeah.
like we've gotten approached a ton of different times about it, and we're just again being very like diligent. The company is so young, right? Like it's really funny how many people have approached me and being like, oh, like I've been following Friday Beers for like 5 years, and I'm like, I know it feels like that because two of those were COVID, but like it's only been around for like 2.5 years, you know, like so we it's awesome because there's just so much opportunity I think like coming our way, and now we're at this point we have to be very just like diligent, measured, where do we see like real growth and value in the next like 18 to 24 months. And I think it's continuing to expand our media footprint,
Mhm.
but not in a way that's like a shotgun, right? Like we're not going to say like, hey, everybody, you can be a part of our network. We're going to be pretty, I think, discerning as to like what brands like fit our voice and like fit our style of comedy.
Mhm.
And then what are those like bigger swing opportunities where we can create businesses that we have more ownership in, uh, with the right partners that, you know, our brand are like a face of and a part of and can be the marketing engine behind, is I think like the real focus for the next like 18 to 24 months.
Sure, sure. Well, Andrew, good luck with that. I wish you
Thank
the
you,
best.
Cameron.
Yeah. This has been Andrew Kenward, President, COO of Almost Friday Media. Thank you for speaking with Gaming America.
Thanks, Cameron. It's been great.